today, obviously, to the Acting Premier, I rise today, obviously, on the news of a increase to the hydro rates here in the province of Ontario, yet again making it more unaffordable, which brings me to my next point. As the Minister responsible for energy cavalierly suggests that the cancelled gas plants are a mere cup of coffee a year, I find that profound sense of entitlement has expanded into the rest of the government. After rereading the Premier's answers from question period yesterday, I'm left with far more questions. In fact, the closer the questions probed into what the Premier knew about the deleted hard drives and when she knew it, she decided to wave off to the Government House Leader. Specifically, it is unclear to us what the Premier does why the Premier does not want to detail conversations the Chair of Transition, Monique Smith, had either with her or David Livingston. Will the Premier offer her cooperation today and ensure the former McGuinty Government House Leader, Chair of her transition team, employed to Washington, Monique Smith, will return to this Chair?
Thank you. Thank you. Deputy Premier.
Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the Premier has been extremely cooperative when it comes to the issue of the gas plants. I can tell you as House Leader, it was the new Premier who directed me to work with the opposition to establish the Justice Committee with a broad mandate. It can, as members know, meet at the call of the Chair, meaning it has absolute freedom when to meet. And like any committee of this legislature, Mr. Speaker, it can call forward witnesses. There's a process in place to work to schedule them, and they have certain powers and authorities if people do not want to be forthcoming. But, Mr. Speaker, I would remind the member that in terms of this government, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Energy has been there several times. I've been in front of the committee. Other ministers have been, and most importantly, Mr. Speaker, the Premier has been twice in front of the committee.
Thank you. Supplementary.
I asked the government Acting Premier if Monique Smith would appear before our committee and if she would recall her from Washington. I did not hear an answer. But I did hear the Government House Leader tell us that they have expanded the role of the committee. Right now, the committee is trying
Minister without portfolio,
government members
come to order.
And therefore, after my leave, I will have to go back down to that committee because they refuse to allow us to sit next week. That's what's going on in their committee. Yesterday, Peter Wallace said, quote, I indicated that for successful Premier there would be a series of challenges, and these challenges are already known. A little later he said, with reference to the gas plants, we would distinguish and we would talk to them about the records of which the Ontario Public Service was particularly concerned, which requests made by the Legislative Committee. I asked the Acting Premier, when did Monique Smith tell the Premier about David Livingston's plan to delete the hard drives so that these records would not be made available?
Thank you. Please. Thank you. Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the member needs to be very, very careful. There is an active OPP investigation. Coming in here, Mr. Speaker, and throwing as much mud as possible and seeing what sticks is not an advisable strategy. Mr. Speaker, we have cooperated fully with the committee. Members of the government who have been called have made themselves available. I am certain that Monique Smith, as an employee of this government, will make herself available and work with the committee to schedule an appearance. But, Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member wants to talk about the committee, we are still waiting for the Conservative candidates to come before the committee, Mr. Speaker. I believe, Mr. Speaker, I'll have to check my notes, but I believe one candidate has been asked 16 times to come forward and refused, Mr. Speaker. We have a number of questions for him about the Progressive Conservatives' promise to cancel the gas plants in the last election.
Final supplementary.
I would remind the Government House Leader it is not the Progressive Conservative Party under OPP investigation. It is members of his party that are under an OPP investigation for deleted emails and the destruction of documents with respect to a $1.1 billion gas plant cancellation scandal that saved their finance minister's seat and 4 other seats in a minority parliament that struck to the very heart of our democracy in this province. If he wants to talk about cooperating in the Justice Committee, he should have his members who are filibustering as I speak in this place to stand down, allow us to sit next week, and bring the next step into this.
Thank you. The member from Halton will come to order. The member from Leeds Grenville will come to order. And I'm keeping track. Minister of Energy, come to order. I'd like you to stop. Thank you. Coming up.
Mr. Speaker, you know, the honourable member has been here for many years. She still hasn't learned that saying it louder doesn't make it more true, Mr. Speaker. The fact of the matter, Mr. Speaker, was it was her party that had robocalls in the last election saying the only way to get rid of the gas plants is to vote Progressive Conservative. It was her party that was putting out tweets, that was putting out press releases in the pièce de résistance, Mr. Speaker. It was her leader who went on YouTube, Mr. Speaker, to say that if he is elected Premier of this province, that gas plant, and he pointed to it, Mr. Speaker, with a dramatic flourish, would be done. Mr. Speaker, every party of this House made the same promise, Mr. Speaker, and all we want to hear from their candidates is what was their costing, Mr. Speaker, and what was their policy analysis.
The member from Hamilton East Stony Creek will come to order, along with everyone else. New question. Member from